Welcome to RawPodcast. My name is Scott Harrigan. Another episode, and today we're going to talk some female hockey. And on the show today, I'm proud and honored to have Maegan Thompson. Maegan, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing great. Are you nervous at all? No, a little bit?
No,
Nothing?
yet.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
Yeah, I've done a few.
Awesome, good stuff. And specifically what we're going to talk about today, specifically, but we're going to talk about Maegan Zandy Hart. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and so, full disclosure, I have been doing ISN for a long time, and I've never heard of Maegan Zandy Hart before, and I feel horrendous that I haven't.
We'll get you caught up today, Scott.
Well, we are, and I feel I got schooled last week when I ran a story from Hockey Canada, and I ran another little, I took her bio and stuff off, and when I looked at her picture, I went, oh, well, no wonder I haven't heard of her, because she's like 11, or, you know what I mean, she looks so young, and then when I started reading her bio, and it said her year of birth, and I went, no, that's a typo. And then I looked at her stats and her where she's played. And I'm like, holy smokes. She has played in the elite of the elite tournaments, internationally, successful. And I felt even worse for myself for not knowing who this island superstar female hockey player. I was just absolutely gobsmacked. So immediately tried to reach out, and I was happy or lucky enough that you replied and stuff like that. So can you just kind of give me your association with Maegan?
I sure can.
Okay, perfect.
So I first met Maegan probably a couple of years ago. So
okay.
I'm involved in an organization called the Capital Region Female Minor Hockey Association.
You founded that?
I'm one of the founding board members.
Right.
And so this is our third season. So we hit the ice in 2019, and
the Victoria Reign?
The Victoria Reign.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And a couple of years ago, Maegan reached out to us. So she grew up here in Greater Victoria on the peninsula.
Yeah.
And asked how she could help grow the association and grow
Wicked.
the sport for girls. So it's interesting to hear that you never heard of Maegan.
I just didn't.
She's a very, very humble individual.
Well, you can tell that already, but she's going to reach out to you to volunteer her time and her experience. I mean, that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah, she's quite amazing. So,
did the young girls know who she was when she came and hit the ice to help the Reign?
A lot of the young girls know who
she is. Good for her.
And Maegan's just asked how she can support our association in building the sport for girls, but not just hockey, just sport in general for young girls.
Yeah.
Sport has served Maegan very well.
Does she play multi-sports?
Oh, she does play multi-sports.
What did she play?
Well, growing up, I think there was a time when she was a teenager, she thought she would give up hockey for basketball.
Cool.
So she's an amazing athlete. And
you gotta be at that level. Yeah. Come on,
Yeah, not many single sport athletes at that level.
No.
And a very strong proponent of being a multi-sport athlete.
Good for her.
Yeah.
So am I. So is a lot. I think a lot of people.
Yeah.
You got to, right?
Yeah. Anyone who gets to that level knows the importance of multi-sport and building physical literacy through other sports.
Yeah. So you must have been over the moon when she called.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's like having Haley Wickenheiser in Toronto with a low. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was a big deal for us.
Yeah.
And so, as a result of that, Maegan has been on the ice with many of our teams. And
well, don't tell her I didn't know who she was before this.
I certainly won't.
Yeah.
Because a sports guy in Greater Victoria doesn't know who she is. But that's okay. That's why we're here.
Wow.
So Maegan's run development programs for us. And because we're a new association, we spend a lot of time on recruitment and at the younger ages to let girls know there's an all-girl hockey option for them. And so with the introduction of COVID, Micah has hopped online. We do our launch events online right now.
Wow.
And Micah's hopped on and welcomed, brand new hockey players to the sport of hockey. So it's quite jaw-dropping, I think, for those girls to be
That's a star, right? I mean, no matter what, that's like, how old are the girls that she's mentoring? Like, what's the age range there?
Well, I'm twice her age, and I think she's mentoring me.
Oh, yeah, well, fair. You know what? Yeah, well, certainly me.
So, I mean, hockey players get on the ice starting at 5 years old. Our intro to hockey programs are
From the rain? No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, really? Wicked.
Yeah, so we've got, we offer programming for 5 years to U21. We have a U21 team. And
yeah, because I cover those. Like when I get press releases, that's whoever in your organization, probably you, that sends out. I run those on ISN on my Facebook page and stuff.
Yeah,
and I look forward to getting them. I could run them all day long. So
yeah, we're a busy organization.
Yeah.
And yeah, Micah's touched probably all ages in our association. She's,
wow.
Yeah, it's been quite a thrill having her.
And is she married with kids?
Micah is 25, and I would say she's her first love is hockey, and that's where she's
good for her.
In a very strong relationship with hockey right now.
Okay.
And they've gone into quite a tight bubble in preparation for the Olympics.
Are they over there now?
No, they leave in the next few days.
Yeah, I would think. Okay, I didn't know if they. Is she nervous?
Sorry?
Is she nervous about going there during this, whatever? I don't even know what we call this now. Is it a pandemic still? I have no idea.
Yeah, I think sport-wise, I would say Micah is very grounded and has just a really mature perspective on sport. So just before the World Championships, she was recovering from a shoulder surgery. So they were in Calgary in that tournament, and I had chatted to her just before the tournament, and she knew she wouldn't be able to play, and I was heartbroken. And
no kidding.
She just took a really matter-of-fact, mature approach to.
Well, that's what happens when you get to that level. You know what I mean? That's what I don't think people really understand is to be at that level and compete at that level and be accepted at that level. You have to be mentally at that level.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like first and foremost. A lot of people don't understand the mental aspect of it, because we go through our day and we're like, oh shit, we just did this, or we can mope around and stuff like that. They can't afford that.
No, she is.
If it's an injury, we deal with it. We train, we do physio, blah blah blah, and whatever. But it's mentally, you have to get. It's really, it's just a level above, isn't it?
Yeah, a level above for sure. Very mentally tough and resilient and shockingly mature for a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
So
were you that mature at 25?
No, I wasn't.
And I.
I hadn't finished a degree at 25 like Micah has. Just really an impressive young woman.
Well, you hit a gold mine there, having her work with the young girls, right? And that's, that's just. But it's not like she hasn't played at different, like, this isn't her first kick at the can playing international and stuff.
No, it isn't.
No, so
she's been on national U18 teams.
Yeah.
And Micah,
she looks so young.
So young. She looks so young.
So young. Like, I thought maybe this is your first international event, and then to read just a litany of good for you.
Resume.
Yeah,
lots of
still didn't know her.
roles, wearing letters for teams she's played on.
Wicked.
Played for Cornell.
Is she soft spoken to speak with? Is she vocal? Would she be a vocal one in the dressing room, or a soft spoken? Do you think?
My guess is Micah leads by example.
Okay.
In the dressing room.
Yeah.
She's funny and very smart-witted.
Yeah.
Which speaks to how bright she is.
Yeah.
And
so sarcasm.
A little bit of sarcasm.
I love that in people. I do. I love that banter.
Yeah, she's.
Was she born and raised here?
She was born and raised here.
Okay.
Yeah, and then went to OHA, Okanagan Hockey Academy.
Okay.
I think she was about 15.
Oh, wow.
And so she, is well-traveled for 25 years old.
Holy, especially in hockey, on an island.
Yeah. Yep. She got
and female hockey player on an island.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, and she's just breaking them down.
Oh, yeah. She
busting through.
She has. Yeah.
Wow. Did she talk about what she's looking forward to in the Olympics? And is she no, I don't think she'd be intimidated playing with a girl like the other. There's some big names. There's Natalie Spoon. There's names. Right. But that's once you're a team, you're a team.
Yeah, and that's what impresses me about the women's national team is they're very cohesive. There's a lot of friendships outside of hockey for those players.
They are competitive. Holy shit, are they competitive? Some of the best hockey that I've seen in the last 10 years has been the Canadian national women's team.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
And with especially against the U.S., I love beating the U.S. And when Wickenheiser, somebody stepped on our Canadian flag, do you remember that? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, you go, girl, you go and get them. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
The scraps on the ice, what was that one game where they were down and they scored with seconds to go and whatever?
I got to go to the World Championships in Calgary in early September, and it had been a bit of a drought for Canada.
Yeah.
And to be at that gold medal game, I love beating the Americans, probably not as much as Team Canada.
Oh.
But it was
you do.
Opportunity of a lifetime, probably the thrill of a lifetime.
But the thing is, Maegan, it's that women's sport is healthy.
It is.
As much as we got to grow more. Yes, of course, I get all that. But if you look back at the Olympics, summer, if it wasn't for the women, we weren't getting any medals. If you look at the soccer, I mean, we got ripped off for that stupid penalty where they bounced the ball, whatever we got. But you get Sinclair and the women just beating for the gold medal. Like, this has spurred on a lot of different sports, female sports in Canada, where we are not just competing, we are winning.
Yeah, we're dominating.
We're dominating, women's rugby, women's hockey, women's soccer. We are at the top of the echelon. Can you say that about the men and stuff like that? Not at the moment, I suppose, but I think the growth of the game of women's hockey, and I want to talk to you about that, is have you seen a growth in all of sports of women in this country?
Yeah, well, I think, we're seeing a bit of a leveling of the playing field, literally. What I can tell you about Greater Victoria and hockey for young girls is the sport is growing leaps and bounds. So an organization like Capital Region Female Minor Hockey Association has provided girls an all-female option. So that appeals to a good handful of new hockey players. So what we were seeing is girls putting up their hands saying, I want to play hockey. But when they're being introduced to the sport and there wasn't an all-girl option, they were opting, hopefully, for a different sport. But it's a shame for us to lose those players to the sport because there wasn't an all-girl option. So now that that's been provided, we think, the door's open for players to play wherever they want. We have an all-female option for them. And we have seen dramatic growth in girls playing hockey in Greater Victoria because of that option.
Okay.
So we're over 260 players strong.
Wow, that is so cool. And only going to get bigger.
Yes.
Right, for cool, yeah.
It's our third year, and 2 of those years we've been plagued by COVID.
Yeah, exactly. What is the, do you also have all-female coaches? Do you have all-female referees? You don't just put a female program together and people forget about, we have to have refs. We have to have coaches. We have to have mentors. We have, but I mean, is it just strictly female, all of it?
No, not all of it. But when we put together our constitution, right in our constitution and bylaws, we talked about developing roles for female officials, administrators, coaches, players. So wanting those opportunities to be available for young girls, young women in all those areas. So we take a very strategic approach to mentorship in our association. So offering coaching clinics to anyone, but certainly encouraging moms who have played hockey before to put their skates on and get on the ice with their players, with their daughters. We have.
Do you need, like, I just want to just back to the coaching and stuff. When you're coaching kids today, there's so many restrictions given, criminal background checks and this and that. Is that the same as this? And are you governed by BC Hockey at all? Oh, so you fall under the BC Hockey umbrella.
Yeah.
So,
and then here on the island, we fall under the Vancouver Island
Amateur Hockey Association?
Exactly.
Oh, how can you be both?
Well, we're like any other minor hockey association in the region.
Oh, okay. Because I thought BC Hockey only took one or the other, like the elites or the other.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're like any other minor hockey association in the region.
Oh, cool.
And bigger than some of them.
Yeah. Already.
Yeah.
Good for you. What would you say has been the biggest growth so far that you've seen? Is it just more girls wanting to play for fun, or is how would you explain the growth over the last 3 years?
Well, I would say, if we want to grow the competitive players and the national team, that starts at the community level or grassroots level.
Yeah. People don't know what grassroots means for some reason. I don't get it.
That's exactly what we're doing. So we're, bringing players into the sport. The vast majority of our players will play for fun and hopefully play.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. And if we offer a competitive option for players, so 3 of our 17 teams are competitive teams. So that option is there if players want to play competitive. But we take a pretty realistic approach to sport.
Sport's fun. Sports is fun.
Fun and
socializing.
lifelong.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So we're very aware of that and spend as much time, hopefully more time, developing our recreational program as our competitive.
Okay.
So 3 of our teams are competitive teams. Those start at U13, U15, and U18.
And you're a big believer in multi-sports.
Absolutely.
Right. What is your thoughts on hockey academies?
Well, I think it's an option for
help
some
or hinder.
players. But sorry?
Does it help or hinder?
Well, I mean, it's an option for hockey players. It's, nothing we really dabble in as an association. So I don't have a strong opinion on hockey academies. They're there for a very specific group of players.
Right. Okay. What would you say to people who, that there's money grabs out there. There's this. There's let's talk about that. Like, what is your take on, have you seen over the years before you even got into this, where you're saying, I'm going to change this to make it more affordable. This isn't going to be that structured where, people who would just volunteer before are now making a living out of doing this and that. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, before the Victoria Reign were born, I did work in arenas, so I have a background in recreation. And there's lots of organizations or businesses that are, there to develop players, but they are businesses. So I think they do fill a role. Again, some players want a more intensive training program than a minor hockey association. So those businesses exist and persist because I think they're filling a need in the sporting community. But hockey is an expensive sport.
Oh, God,
so
is it ever?
Our association has done everything we can to take away the cost barriers. So we have a gear lending program.
I love that.
So if you're a brand new player, want to try the sport, you
Love
don't have
that.
to invest in gear. We'll lend you gear.
Love
and if
it.
you size out of it, we'll size you up into the next set of gear. So making it as affordable.
Is that male and female, or just female at this point?
Well, we do it for our association,
Yeah,
which
okay.
serves a female population.
Right.
And registration fees, there's a lot of community resources that will support kids whose families can't afford to pay registration. So
That's
we
bingo.
like to think we've never turned anyone away because of financial barriers.
And I hope you keep doing that, because it's one of the things that as I've done this for a while now, that I really do sometimes have to wonder if we're getting the best athletes or the richest folk. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we all want what's best for our kids, but it's sometimes there's people just fall through the cracks that really want to play. And again, it's with sports, when you play in the playground, it's free. It's fun. You're with your buddies. Everything's great. And then you take that to the next step where, hey, we're joining the Pee Wee League. I can't. Well, hey, that kid doesn't know. He knows they don't have the means like the other because he hangs out and been to their houses. But I just, my heart just breaks when that kid can't. So I'm really happy to hear that you're doing that, and please don't ever lose that. Please always have that, because if you're going to go grassroots, you got to go right to the start of it. And not all people are of the same means.
Absolutely. And hockey.
Hockey's expensive.
Hockey's expensive. Most minor sports are expensive. So the added expense for hockey is the facility. It's not cheap to keep ice in year round. And those facilities are.
No, I get all that. Yeah. So yeah, then that's you can only play on whatever the maintenance or whatever. So being with a CVRD, do you have an in with the arenas?
So CRD.
CRD. Sorry.
Well, all municipal facilities are governed by policies that have been endorsed by their elected officials. So we are a tenant in those facilities,
right,
like any other minor hockey association.
Right.
That was a big challenge for us.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, like, can we talk about that a bit more? Like, well, how did you, when this idea came and you approached, like, what was the hurdles that you had to get over to get this happening?
Well, first was, I think, convincing decision makers, so hockey decision makers, governing bodies, that this was a good thing.
Needed.
It was needed, and we talked to every minor hockey president in the region, wanted them to understand what we were doing. Ideally, they would collaborate with us on this initiative.
Were they all on board?
I think it took some time
for
them to understand the benefits and the big picture. So I think most people probably only see the impact through their own organizational lens. And what we were looking for was a little more holistic approach to kids in sport. So that was the first hurdle. And then getting our association approved. So there's lots of layers in hockey governance.
Yeah.
And we needed decision makers to understand and endorse our program. And then there was getting ice. And again, I recreation, I know the demands.
There's a shortage here, for sure.
There's a shortage of primetime ice.
Yeah.
And that's the ice we need in minor
Yeah.
sport. So some facilities, I think, have followed their policies closer than others. And we've been allocated ice throughout the region. But it's really piecing together a puzzle, because we can't have ice at the same time throughout the region, because we needed diverse offerings. We needed to be able to host teams from the Lower Mainland and have them come over and get 2 games in and be able to go back to the mainland without having to spend a night. So it was a major undertaking trying to get the ice. So we approached, there's a regional group of ice operators, the recreation managers. We explained to them what we were doing. And then, as you know, ice is a very hot commodity, and every minor hockey association wants more primetime ice. And we needed a piece of that pie for our players to be able to play. So often I think people think it's historical how ice is allocated or should be allocated. And I would say, no, it should be allocated based on the policies that those facilities have.
You certainly, when it comes to that, allocating ice, some people are going to be really happy, and other people are going to be really. I mean, ice is one of those things that you could build, 10 more here, and they'd be filled.
They'd be filled during primetime hours.
Yeah, for sure. But who cares if they're not like at 11 o'clock? Like, it doesn't really matter. Like it's one of those. I hear Langford may or may not building 2 more ice pads.
There's always fantastic rumors in the community about where the next rink is going to be.
Yeah. So you cover from Sydney to Souk.
That's correct.
Right, soup to nuts.
Soup to nuts. Yeah.
And what do you? Obviously, Victoria being the higher of the registration.
We have players from every municipality in the region.
I lived in Souk for 7 years.
Yeah,
they love their sports in Souk. They love. Yeah, I love Souk people.
Community
Really is.
So we've got a handful of players out there. There was a time when Souk was a real hotbed for girls hockey.
Yeah, I played against the women there. There was a real estate agent, and I was and we'd play, and they'd say, "You want to sit?" because it's a goalie didn't show up or something, and they're competitive, man. Like they're holy. It was awesome, but yeah.
Yeah, it's and women's hockey is alive and well in our region also.
So where did Micah play when she was young? When she was 5, 6, 7 years old,
Micah grew up on the peninsula.
Yeah, but was it female hockey big then, or she played with the boys?
She played integrated.
Do you think that helped her game? I'm a big fan of that.
Looking where Micah is, I'm going to say it didn't hurt her game.
Hurt? Yeah,
she grew up playing competitive hockey, so representative hockey with the boys until she went to OHA. So it did not hurt her game.
In fact, I would be a proponent to say that it actually helped her game, and I'm a huge fan of that. And I get laughed at sometimes. I don't give a shit. The older you get, the less you care. But I think to have that co-ed game, like in lacrosse or this, I honestly think that really does help from both sides. Right, because you play games differently. Women play games differently than men, and there's just those different idiosyncrasies that you go, oh, okay, I get that, and so it doesn't hurt.
What we want is kids to play sport.
Yeah.
And
who has not a brother and a sister, and then an older sister, and she's going to kick your ass at everything until you get to a point. But that's where you first learn, right?
Yeah. So, and for our association. We saw a gap that needed to be filled.
Yeah.
We were the only major urban center in Canada that didn't have a female minor hockey association.
You're kidding.
Yeah, it was quite mind-blowing for...
What? What about the Seals? What were they...
So the Seals are a AAA association hosted by BC Hockey. So it's not a minor hockey... They're not a minor hockey association.
Oh, I thought they had some affiliation with...
So the players come from the island, from minor hockey associations, but the team itself.
Right. That I knew, but they just did that to have an elite team.
That's right.
Okay.
So they're what we would call a female AAA team.
Right.
And they draw players from all over the island, including the Victoria Reign.
Right.
So we have a handful of those players. I'm going to say probably more than half.
Okay.
Are from our association.
And your Victoria, what does that go up to as far as level wise?
So we offer programming right up to U21.
Oh, wow. U21?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, as far as I know.
What?
It's since my time in Greater Victoria, I think it's the only U21 female team we've hosted. So there's lots of adults, female hockey teams.
Yeah.
And so we have a U21 team. Lots of our players that graduate out of U18 play there. And students who come here for school who've played hockey growing up are looking to stay on the ice, and so we've got a handful of kind of imports, university students.
Yeah. Well, being in U sports and stuff like that, it's the women's hockey and especially in the Atlantic provinces, it's huge. It's massive. Do you hope to one day have a collegiate program here?
Well, that's beyond my aspirations.
No, but just like just a wish list type thing.
Yeah, I would.
How could that hurt?
It couldn't hurt. And what we know and our experience through developing CRFMHA is it takes a champion. It takes someone who wants to do that. And we wanted to do this because we saw instability in girls hockey season after season. And so we wanted to provide stability and assurances to players that you will have a team to play on next year. Because prior to female association, there was no guarantee of that.
Well, that's my point, and like I said, I've been around long enough to see the different leagues and stuff like that, Megan, and I'll tell you that some of the best hockey on this island is the UVic Vikes, who are not associated with the UVic at all. Harry Shamhart and Reza Benab, they have to put that program together. And each of the players has to be enrolled at UVic, but there's no affiliation. Not like, other teams in the U Sport. I would love to see a men's and women's team, hockey team at UVic. I think that would just be one of the greatest things ever.
Fantastic.
Or Camosun, or what I mean, Canada West. I think that would be, because you'd have like VIU. Everything they touch, sports-wise, they're just good at. I love that rivalry. Is there anything up island north of Malahat with female hockey?
Well, for our competitive teams, there is a North Island team. They're called the North Island Impact. And then other communities can put together female teams. And those right now, we're the only female association on the island. But we think we have a cookie cutter template to share with the population.
Looks like it
is there, and we now have that experience, that template that we'd be more than happy to share with other regions that see a need for a female minor hockey association.
Yeah,
it was a ton of work, and I'd like to think that once someone else has the template, they just need to find people to do the heavy lifting. It is a ton of work.
It is, but you wouldn't be starting from scratch. You'd be starting from experience.
Exactly.
Right.
And,
so, there's a big difference there.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. Would you be willing to take that on? Show, not that you're not busy enough or nothing, right? But don't worry about that. But is that something that do you foresee yourself doing? Do you vision to that big or no?
I don't see any reason they couldn't do it, but it does take a champion or a small group who's willing to put the time in. It's an extraordinary amount of work. Our board is 24 people.
Oh, wow.
Which is massive for a minor hockey association. Wow. But we have a lot of administrative infrastructure to get in place. And
what do you get out of this?
Well, I have a daughter that played hockey, so certainly I was motivated to make her hockey experience better. But what I get out of this is a great deal of satisfaction knowing that we have 260 hockey players we're supporting in sport. And, over the decades that our association exists, hopefully we have thousands of girls, and I get to go on the ice with all the young ones,
You still play?
I still play.
Yeah, what position?
I'm right now a defenseman.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I always wonder, I've, probably coached a couple of hundred kids, and I wonder, have I ever coached a Team Canada player? Have I, been on the ice with the...
I'd have to say no. Who has? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very exciting.
Wow.
I grew up playing sports. I know the value and the lessons that come from sport.
But it's changed. You must admit, sports has changed over the years, hasn't it? It's, there's certainly, there was a time when it was big news if a player came out sexually, and I know today I don't run those stories. Because it's just like slow news day, ISN. You don't need to. It's like it's not big news. It's okay. Mental health is huge.
Hockey is a microcosm of the larger social culture.
100%.
And, I hope we get to a point where that isn't news.
Well, it's not. It's not. But you know what is news now is transgender and stuff like that. And you know, I don't know if you want to talk about I like diversity. I love inclusion. I think it's you need that. That's something you need. How would you prepare for that if one day you like that would just be okay? I don't know. I don't know. I know it's a touchy subject. I get it if you don't want to talk about it, but it is in sport, and I've just never. I don't know. I coaching has changed, male and female, it doesn't matter, to where it was you just told them what to do. Go out and do that. This is what you want you to do in practice. Then it went to, that wasn't good enough. You had to, you know, this is how you do it. I'll show you. And now it's taken on why. Yeah, why I want you to do that. Why we're doing this. So kids want to know because they have so many things at their disposal now with, you know, iPads and this and watch replays and the whole video. They want to know why we're doing this. So, you know, coaches have to change their game. Absolutely.
And I think, again, hockey and sport is just a microcosm of larger society. So we're seeing, you know, organizations keep pace with
right.
Workplaces. And during my time in minor sport, we have programs, and Respect in Sport we're expected
100%.
to know, understand, and implement on our teams.
How would you deal with transgender that wanted to play? Just like anything else?
Just like anything else.
Okay.
If they're any other player worthy of respect and dignity.
Oh, of course. No, yeah.
And I would think, and I would hope that sport would be an environment that would welcome and embrace anyone who wants to play. And we're seeing that with our... let me just say this, as long as we keep it fun and we want to do this, there's stories written where, you know, getting a scholarship over another girl who's not trans, and you know, that causes, well, I'm going to lose my scholarship over this, which, I mean, there's arguments to be made on both cases, but I really do believe that sports should be fun. And absolutely. If you break through that barrier, not male or female, talent, skill, and that cream rises, I'm of the old adage, if you're good enough, they will find you. Period. End of story. That's it. No academy, no this. I get it. You can hone your skills more and get more exposure. Are we doing this for exposure? Or are we doing this for that? But when I watch different sports, it just sometimes I go, oh God, like what are we like? Are they playing for the name on the front of the jersey or the back? Like what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. And I just wonder sometimes. But every time I see kids playing and having fun, Special Olympics. I love the Special Olympics because that is as genuine and as happy and as awesome as you're ever gonna get. Because they don't give a shit. It's just wicked. I don't know how to instill that in other aspects of the sport, because at the end of the day, it has to be fun. No, would you agree with that? Yeah, I mean, the only way kids are going to come back and play is if it is fun.
Fun.
And our association, I mean, we cater to
that is so cool.
A recreational, fun environment. We have competitive teams, but I would argue at the competitive level also, and I think, you know, a message Mike would say is this is a game, and it has to be fun. And for our players, it's our priority. And when I coached, it was always the number one priority.
The fun. Yeah, we always knew. Like I'm 55, be 56. We always knew who the elite were on the team.
Yeah.
We always they were climbing, yeah. And every year at every level they climbed until they got to a level where they were just the same as now. And then you seen them drop. But those people that just went through, that's the difference right there. So, you know, again, I would say, like taking baseball, you know, there are people that live in really poor countries who don't have iPads, video, the scouts, let this or that. They don't even really have equipment, and they come to the major leagues every year, throwing 98 miles an hour, right? So, you know, like Who found them? Skill found them. Thank you. Like it's that. So they probably were just having fun doing whatever they did. So it's really cool, and I'm really happy to hear that you've taken that aspect. You haven't forgotten about it, and it sounds to me like it's kind of in the forefront of how all this started.
Yeah, well, a hockey experience or a sporting experience is what, inspired those of us who thought we needed a female minor hockey association to do this. Our kids like playing sports, and it was unstable. We didn't know year to year if there would be a team for them to play on, which really felt horrible as a parent. So we thought there's no reason all the girls in this region, and now we're 260 strong. If we had an association that was advocating on their behalf every year, we could
so
grow
cool.
the sport, and that's what we've done.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And now we have Micah, who's about to take center stage. Yes. What number is she going to wear?
28, I think, Mike.
28?
Yeah.
And what line is she on?
She's a defense.
Okay, so she's going to be top 4, you think?
Number 1 in my heart.
Awesome. You'll be cheering?
Oh, yeah, I'll be cheering.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're, COVID depending, we're going to try and plan a couple of viewing parties.
Oh, wicked. Yeah. At the rink or at your house or what? Yeah, either or.
Up for debate. We got to see what the restrictions are.
Yeah, well, I think they're dropping them by now. That's I'm hearing.
Crossed.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Maegan, we're going to wrap this up. But what are some of the messages that you want to put out there? Like just as a reminder, what's the websites? I want to know about your return or your policy for used equipment. Is there a website? Do you promote this? Is there a bottle drive that has it, or what's that about?
Well, our website is hosted at victoriagirlshockey.ca,
Okay.
And we'll do gear drives when we need gear.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess the message I would love to leave listeners with is sport for kids. It brings many lessons, life lessons.
You can tell that you enjoy it. There's a smile on your face, like you can tell.
Yeah, I do.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's a ton of work, but
doesn't feel like work though, does it?
Yeah, it's definitely a labor of love. And if you have a daughter who's interested in playing hockey, we have a place for her, whether she's 5 or 20, competitive or recreational.
What's the cost like to join?
Well, I'll speak in generalities.
Yes, that's all. Yep.
Our rates are about the same as any minor hockey association, so it's hundreds of dollars to play, to register with an association. And depending on the team you play, sometimes there's a team assessment fee, and then there's gear.
Yeah.
And so we think we have an option to eliminate all those financial barriers. We just need a parent to email us and tell us their kid wants to play hockey, and we'll get her on the ice.
Wicked. Now you... I don't want to dismiss this, because I kind of just brushed over it. My fault. You said there was community people in place to help parents offset the cost.
Yeah, throughout Greater Victoria, there's organizations that can support parents.
Kids Sport Victoria,
exactly.
Kelly Mann and those people.
Exactly.
Do you know Kelly?
I know Kelly.
You're a great guy. He was just on last week.
I volunteered for him at the World Juniors in
no way.
2018. He was my boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did he do there?
Boss people around.
For what? For who?
What's that?
For who?
Well, he was on the organizing committee.
Yeah, so, was he?
Yeah.
That guy's everywhere. He's got his finger out.
He's like a bad rash. You just can't get rid of him.
Yeah, he was just on last week, actually, talking about that. He's got some exciting stuff coming up with the guy he used to run Check News or something. I can't remember his name, but he's got some stuff going on with.
Yeah, Kelly's always.
He's got his finger everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's been instrumental. Has he helped you with launching this?
Kelly's given me some guidance.
Okay.
In this process.
Is he on the board?
He's not.
Okay. Should he be?
Should he be? Kelly's
busy enough.
Yeah, he's got a lot on the go. But yeah, I would say I've consulted Kelly a couple of times on just questions around sporting organizations and funding and grant opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll be sure to get all your links and stuff like that. And please, if you have stuff going on, send them my way. I think you have my email. If you don't, I'll.
Sure do.
Okay. Well, then definitely let me help with the exposure, anyways, and stuff
Thanks
like
very
that.
much, Scott.
And you're absolutely more than welcome to come on at any time. If or when we should I jinx it? No,
Don't say it.
I won't. You are more than welcome on any time, and I really want to thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a ton.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Well, folks, female hockey getting bigger and bigger and bigger thanks to people like Maegan Thompson. I mean, what can you say about what can you say about that? It's people like Maegan and people that she works with that are going to grow sport, not just locally. I mean, it's something that it starts locally. It's grassroots as she goes, and people like Maegan. It's like that all over Canada, and we really need more people like Maegan to help grow the sport and give it its just desserts. With that, that's another show, and I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll have more coming up later on in the week. My name is Scott Harrigan. This is RawPodcast. Thanks for joining.